Baldur's Gate's main city has so much content that it often felt like it could be a game all on its own, which made me wonder, if you were to start at level 1 and couldn't leave the city, could you still hit the maximum in-game level? And I could think of no better way to find the answer than with a region-locked challenge run. Using mods, I've transported my fresh level 1 ranger and created my own story, to find out if you can complete the entire leveling process within just one region, and answer the question, can you level 1 to 12 without leaving the city of Baldur's Gate? To fully immerse myself as a new arrival within Baldur's Gate, I threw away my starting items and have begun with nothing but the rags on my back and a cat at my side. The only rule for this run is that I can't exit the region, so the first objective in the city is finding a job. Everyone knows the best place to find work in a D&D universe is at the local pub. You'd think that an endgame region in the game wouldn't have any work for a level 1 character like myself. But Chef Rovere here actually offers a quest to kill level 1 rats in his basement. Using a meat cleaver I'd stolen from the kitchen, I chopped up Stuart Little and ignited the spilled wine that these vermin had doused themselves in, exterminating several filthy rats and completing the first level of the challenge. After the remaining rats self-immolated, Chef Boy Rovere paid us for a job well done, securing my retirement from a day-long career in rat assassination. If you're unfamiliar with Baldur's Gate, it's important to know that the city is a corrupt, lawless shithole. Half the residents have secret murder basements, multiple gangs fight over control of the streets, and the government itself is run by a power-hungry emo dictator backed by military police robots. So to level up amongst criminals, you gotta become a criminal yourself. Using every bit of coin obtained from rat catching, I was able to afford just 2 sets of thieves' tools. Using these, the plan was to go into every empty home in the city, rob them blind, and gather up all that juicy exploration experience. But my very first theft in the city didn't go as planned.
Stop right there, criminal scum!
At least I got the exploration experience from discovering the jail though. Thankfully, prisons in Baldur's Gate have been designed by complete morons. Using my feline companion's cute meow ability, I successfully lured the guards away, constructed a wooden box ladder, jumped over the walls, and snuck into the bathroom without anyone noticing. It's here that I stole someone's change of clothing before slipping down the latrine and into the safety of the sewers, reaching level 3. And according to Baldur's Gate's laws, after escaping jail, you're considered innocent after just 60 seconds, meaning I could freely return to the surface and visit the prison again to steal a stash of stolen supplies. Back on the streets, I continued thieving weapons from the guards, paintings from the living, and homes of the dead, to edge out level 4. With the majority of safely obtainable exploration experience exhausted from the city, I could begin stage 2 of my master plan, deceiving the locals. Deceiving Eridan by telling him that I've never seen the Night Song, which in this universe is actually the truth, gives nearly half a level. Then popping into the sewers, you can tell this insane sorcerer that you're not with the Absolute to earn another 3300 experience and reach level 5. And my favorite of them all is telling the orc guarding the entrance to the guild that he's smart and handsome. That one actually is a lie. While there are a couple more dialogues I'll get to later on, they don't reward very much experience. So from this point on, the difficulty really increases as I need to rely heavily on combat and questing to make any further progress. I took what little earnings I had from my crimes thus far to purchase weapons and graduated from robbing the dead's homes to robbing the dead's graves. The first grave housed a living man, the second just a dude buried with his cats, and the third ended up being a grave robbing kobold. She didn't like me taking her job, so she escalated the situation into a fight. Thankfully, kobolds are probably the least threatening foes in the entire city, and the graveyard employs a guard who jumped in to take my side. Using the age-old technique of hiding around corners while spike growth is active, I waited while the kobolds walked on pokey plants while their feet turned to silly putty. After waiting out my victory, I took a long rest and got back to the grind. I wrapped up my graveyard crime spree by encouraging a child to pray to the god of death. She unintentionally necromanced 20 undead from the graveyard, and I fled to the safety of a nearby steel watcher. My robot friend helped me kill these zombies to reach level 6, and I expected it to handle a few bony boys with ease. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, as this brainless skeleton outsmarted the living. But after begging a second smarter steel watcher to save my life, this undead fell in the 40th round of combat. Because there's only one graveyard in the city, and I'd already pilfered every rotting corpse within it, it was time to move on. Using my newfound riches, I purchased a room at the Elfsong Tavern, got a good night's rest off the streets, and began planning my next move. If growing up as a child who played Grand Theft Auto way too young taught me anything, it's that to be a true crime lord, you need to plan a heist. The Counting House is the largest bank in the city, and also the only bank in the city, making it a prime heist target. But you can't just walk into a bank looking like you crawled out of a swamp. I made a quick visit to the Facemaker's boutique, who transformed me from Baldur's bum to Baller of Rivia. Now to play the part of eccentric millionaire, I brought my pet cat to the bank, waited patiently for my turn in line, and like the NPC he is, this bank teller fully fell for my ruse, handing over a crisp vault pass. With it, I strolled right past the guards and into the bank's inner vaults. Pretty pathetic security for the biggest bank in the lands. But the greatest enemy in the D&D universe still blocked my path. A door. By throwing a bottle of water and a lightning arrow, you can shock the circuitry to force this door open. gaining access to the counting house's high security vault room, where the real riches lie. But similar to my previous career path, bank robbery is a highly competitive job in the cesspool that is the city of Baldur's Gate. The mastermind Minsk, along with his assassin friends, planned a superior heist, stealing the gold at the exact moment of my arrival, almost like I'm the main character here. With a battle starting out between the guards and these assassins, there was little hope I could influence it. So after letting it play out, I employed hit and run tactics, picking off the weakest enemies and then fleeing the area until just one remained. Clearing this final assassin got me to level 7, and while it may have been too late to get the gold inside these vaults, I obtained the elegant studded leather armor. This armor gives me advantage on all stealth checks, enabling an utterly broken stealth archer playstyle that every gamer dreams of. From what I can tell thus far in my experiences, the most common career path in Baldur's Gate is that of an assassin, and if I could join a group of them, they could teach me the tricks of the trade. Luckily, this city even has public job postings for murderers. Having found their flyer on the corpse of a murder victim, I'd begun the Unholy Assassin questline. To earn a job interview, I just needed to pick 2 targets from their hit list. But there was just one name on this list that didn't fly, my barber Figaro. I needed to warn him that someone's out to get him, but upon arrival, I found him already paralyzed in his own chair, seconds before his untimely death. I challenged my rival to a duel before running to the guards like the 7th level bitch I am. The guards would have easily soloed the fight for me, but while throwing an explosive, I accidentally clipped the guard, turning this into a 3-way bout. The murderer fell to the Steel Watcher, and I quickly found myself in a 1v1 scenario with a robot guard. In a total Gandhian move, I managed to trigger its self-destruct sequence in a location I had no way of escaping. Preparing for the worst, I dropped a health potion at my feet and survived the blast. With my competition out of the way and my barber friend saved, it was time to pick a new target from the hit list. Since I'd previously worked for the chef, I thought I'd fulfill the fantasy of many restaurant workers by killing my ex-employer. His coworker saw me do the crime and didn't even report it to the guards, so he probably won't be missed. After cutting off his hand, he still had 2 attached to his body. A little freaked out, I fled from the kitchen, and within seconds my potential employer showed up to call my work sloppy. Kinda rude when I don't even have the job yet, bro. With his feedback in mind, the next target required a bit more finesse. After sneaking into an old lady's attic, I fired an arrow from the shadows to secure the kill. Her husband alerted the guards, I fogged up the room, snuck up to the corpse, removed her hand, and fled out the balcony without the flaming fist noticing my presence. These 2 kills were all it took to secure an interview with the head honcho of the city's assassins. And after presenting my victim's hands, he was impressed enough to offer me one final trial, killing a chained up celestial elephant. Not much of a test, but with its death, the job was mine. I'd become an unholy assassin. This group offered me trinkets and doodads and gave me a crash course in Murder 101. But afterwards, it had me thinking, is this really the life for me? Seeking a second opinion and a new questline, I sought guidance from a therapist in the city. The House of Grief are the only ones who offer such a service, and while therapy in real life couldn't save my marriage, it may help with poor life decisions in a fantasy universe. After a short chat, the therapist described my violent personality perfectly, suggesting I seek further treatment within their slightly nefarious basement. But in a city full of swindlers, of course the only mental health supporters are secretly a cult set up to brainwash vulnerable people into scamming outsiders, prompting combat with what many people consider to be the hardest encounter in the city of Baldur's Gate. The only problem for these scammers was their choice in architectural design, as their room is perfectly constructed in such a way that you can set up a wall of barrels near the entrance to block enemies from ever reaching the door. Dread ambush hiding while the door is closed causes these cultists to go full Skyrim, standing still while a stealth archer picks them off one by one without much reaction. Intentionally revealing my location every few minutes would lure my foes closer to the door, and using this strategy I hit level 8 and most of the way to level 9 during this one encounter. Without anyone left to talk me down from this life of crime and some further experience gained on the job, it was time to track down the thieves from the bank so I could get all that gold to myself. The only lead I had so far was to search the city sewers, and after wandering into an undead tomb by mistake, I stealthily disposed of these zombies to reach level 9. In the sewers, I eventually located Minsk, and this time I didn't have a door ally at my side, but I do have a long, narrow choke point at my disposal. Blocking the pipe with random chests and garbage allows you to pick off enemies from a distance, while they struggle to get through to you in a single file line. Most of them struggle anyways. Minsk can get through because of his superior jumping abilities, and I'm pretty sure they all could have done the same, but it appears the rest of these guys just aren't as smart as Minsk, and that's saying something. Roa Moonglow managed to escape from here with the bank's stolen gold, and a note on the corpse of these thieves led us back to the guild hideout, where you're forced to take sides with either Roa and the Zentream or Nine Fingers Guild. Since Nine Fingers didn't try to kill me or take my job, it's a pretty simple choice. And for once, there's no need for any clever tactics to do the fight because I'm pretty sure it's impossible to lose this fight even if you tried to. While celebrating the guild's victory, I took a relaxing stroll along the beach, which like every other inch of this city has its own dangers. Several sea monsters swarmed me from the ocean, but being strong enough to fight them off while kiting away made it not much of a threat. Unsure as to why these sea monsters are so far inland, I headed to the Water Queen's house house to find out. Along the way, I found a well-dressed man non-consensually tied to a chair. When questioning these people's bizarre behavior, they instigated a fight with me like I'm the weird one for asking. What's nice about this fight is that all the tools needed to cheese it are already here. By juggling these barrels away from the trapped bard, you'll not only save his life, but turn the tides of battle at the same time, making for probably the most enjoyable encounter the city has to offer. Inside the Water Queen's house nearby, I was informed of an ongoing funeral service. After pressing F, I asked this Disney cosplayer what happened. She explained her friend was killed in a brutal hit-and-swim ocean incident. Being a door-to-door assassin, it's rare that sales opportunities like this pop up. I offered my services, and with mixed emotions, they asked me to get their revenge. My investigations led me to Flim's cargo. Several guard wards tried to prevent my entry, and in return, I prevented their lives, reaching level 10 in the process. As expected, the basement dweller responsible for the wannabe mermaid's manslaughter was here, and after explaining that I was an assassin hired to take his life, he spoke to me like we're in a 2009 Xbox Live lobby. But in the end, it would be him who sleeps with the fishes. After collecting my reward from those Disney cosplayers, I visited the local park to enjoy some public art, and in the process I found several co-worker assassins avoiding their work while in uniform. They even planned to murder hobo the public, asking me to join in. But I refused to partake in such senseless killing, choosing instead to sensefully kill them in self-defense. When the guards showed up, they even took my side. Together we shoot away the delinquents. One lady guard was so impressed she even attempted to pick me up afterwards, explaining that I'm part of her grand design. But she had those crazy eyes, man, like you know the ones. I respectfully declined her advances, and she didn't take it well. This whole park scenario really got me thinking. The only way to show our murder boss Orin how good we are at justifiable homicide would be to destroy Gortash's Steel Watch facility. This would eliminate the majority of the corrupt police force in the city, allowing for criminals like myself to roam free. Plus, it's one of the only quests that I actually have left. But the first rule of Assassin School is that assassins don't just walk in the front door. Everyone knows that roofs are never guarded. Using a box tower, I jumped up to the roof and was caught by a roaming robot. Looks like somebody read the Assassin rulebook. Kiting back to the box tower kept me unharmed until this robotic mastermind broke my tower, much like Larian did when they broke my heart, confirming no DLC is coming. When the robot boomed, I returned to the roof using the old-fashioned way to sneak into this facility. The horrors discovered inside fully justified boss Orin's disgust for Gortash. These trapped slave Gondians were forced to create the Steel Watch, and I wanted to set them free, mainly because that's the actual quest. But if there's one thing you should never do in Baldur's Gate 3, it's save the Gondians. Sneaking further into this facility, I started picking off what I could from the rafters, as the enemies kinda bug out and struggle to find you when you're up here. One of the guards did actually manage to get up to me, and when injured, dropped his motivator. Normally, you can click this motivator to disarm it and prevent the instant death of every single Gondian. However, in this playthrough, that didn't happen. In a brand new bug I'd never seen before, there was no clickable motivator at all. As if it was an act of God, the Gondians were impossible to save. I could do nothing but wait while their heads exploded. The final room of the Steel Watch facility contains a pretty challenging encounter with a Steel Watch Titan. But this Titan suffers from one fatal flaw. It's been built so largely that it can't actually leave the room. The same room that was constructed with an indestructible door. Those Gondians really do deserve some credit, because that's some sick irony right there. By using the Titan itself as a barrier, I was able to pick off each of the Steel Watchers without even requiring any stealth shenanigans. With its self-destruction, I acquired this bow that I won't even attempt to pronounce, but did not reach level 11. Slightly concerning with how few legitimate encounters remain. The only home I had yet to break into in the city was that of Cazador. After defeating one guard for his ring key to open this sinister door, the werewolves on the other side didn't want any witnesses. And in this battle, I learned that rats know how to open doors, but wolves do not. Defeating these beasts brought me to level 11, just 24,000 experience from completing the goal. Searching this mansion, I located a hidden elevator to descend into the dungeons below. While murder basements are par for the course in Baldur's Gate, Cazador's is a step above most of the city residents, hosting a dungeon full of captive vampires. I couldn't save the Gondians, but these evil blood-sucking vampires would provide more value to the world and deserved my attention. Right when talking with Cazador, he began the Rite of Ascension. He had literally 11 hours before I got here to have done this safely, but he chose right when I got here to attack him to start his immortality ritual. This fight is normally on a time limit to kill him before he completes the ritual to become a master vampire. But after picking off his allies, I stole Astarian's corpse and I ran off with it. Without it, he can't ascend, giving me unlimited time to stealth archer him down. I stabbed him again for good measure, then set free all the vampires, unleashing further chaos on Baldur's Gate. I still needed quite a bit of experience to get through the rest of this level, so while shopping in town, a friendly undead mystic familiar with my assassin career asked me to track down a runaway worker who'd stolen from him. The task felt right up my alley, and I ended my search in an abandoned beachside home, where I found the man Thrumbo hiding in a closet. But this man gave me a very different story. Thrumbo was actually just an innocent worker who was killed by an immortal undead murder hobo mystic, the type of person that I just don't agree with. Thrumbo suggested I track down the mystic carrion's organs and destroy them to end his immortality. This of course agitated the undead traitor, where he and the mummies chased me into the streets. The citizens showed surprisingly little interest in mummies battling in the streets, and none would mourn the loss of the mystic carrion. That night when sleeping, I had a very awkward dream. It was hard to explain, but I had a sudden urge to return to where my journey began. Looking around the room that I'd slain the rats, I found a secret button leading to a hidden room. Some friendly Githyanki inside wanted to chat, wherein they revealed they're not friendly at all. Many people don't know this, but a Githyanki's #1 weakness is fireworks. Their #2 weakness? Stealth archers. With the Githyanki dead, the only remaining encounters were those in the sewers, where our assassin girl boss Orin resides. I figured it was time to go meet her, and on the way there, I found some co-workers preparing to slaughter some weak civilians. I eliminated these killers and knew my final task would be clearing out all of them, including Orin herself. For the first time I can remember, I didn't skip the fight before Orin to eat up all the available experience possible, then meandered into Orin's temple for the final confrontation. After criticizing her murder capabilities, she turned Slayer form, then began the battle. Normally when you're fighting Orin, it's pretty easy to burst through all of her stacks of her armor to burst her straight down, but for reasons you'll see soon, that would not be the optimal play. Instead, I focused down her guards while teleporting and jumping around the room, and used the Deva to tank Orin's claws. A mechanic that most people probably have never seen on this fight is after you finish all of the Sanctuary channelers, Orin will start to summon Blood Marrow skeletons. These skeletons grant 40 experience each on death, which isn't much, but ended up being just enough that landing the killing blow on Orin secured my 12th level, completing the challenge and confirming you can level from 1 to 12 entirely within one region of Baldur's Gate. And the part that surprised me the most about this was I just had to follow the quests. I didn't even have to go all murder hobo on anybody. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like. As always, thanks for watching, have yourself a wonderful day, Proxy out.